Hi, this is Crystal Cox, doing my self-evaluation for Competency 1. I've gone through the checklist and listened to my video to see that I covered everything I needed to cover, and overall I think it went well. I feel good about it. All this is still new, still learning, but I felt good about how I did overall. Just sort of going through the order of the checklist, one thing that I did notice that I switched up this order a little bit, which I think is okay. It still worked, but I think dividing the parents into the groups of 3 and checking for the assigned roles would have been better earlier on, where it is in the checklist. So right after I give a frame for the exercise, and inform the parents that they would take turns, I think it would have been better to go ahead and do that division up, dividing up then. That way, as I'm really giving the tasks and telling what each one's going to be doing, that person can think about what they're going to be doing first, and not have to sort of recap later. So that's something that I think I would like to do differently when I teach this. Again, I liked the way when I did do the dividing into groups, I did like the way that I asked for who was doing the roles, because it was a quick way to do it instead of going to each group and having them tell me who was the parent, who was the child, who was the volunteer, or walking to each group. I just quickly said, who are my parents, who are my children, who are my observers, and that way it was very fast and I could move on. I'm noticing that it's difficult for me to get into these time frames that are recommended. I tend to want to draw it out a little bit, so I think that was a good thing. I like the way I did that, and I want to use that again. When I was outlining the tasks for the parents and the child, I noticed that I didn't really emphasize again the waiting after the first request. So I said, you will make the request. If they do it, give them praise. And I'd like to be a little bit more defined there, just to remind them, because this is new to them. So to remind them that this is the pattern of the start routine. And so I'd like to add that back in. When I called for the volunteer and Jessica was helping me, I did set the scene. I told the class that she would comply the first time, but I think it would have been more effective if I had addressed her. The class would have still heard me, but I could address her directly and say, the first time, Jessica, you will comply, and then we would have practiced. And I did do that on the second time. And I noticed that at the end, when I asked them to begin the exercise, I left off the reminder of the time limit. And even though we had talked about that extensively at the beginning, and I would have reminded them as they did the activity, I still would like to add that in the end as it's on the checklist. But again, overall, I feel good about this. I feel good about teaching it. So I think, I think I was positive. I have a positive relationship with the parents that I teach, so I feel good about presenting this to them in class, and I feel like I had that that positive frame and relationship going even in the video.